viewers, and welcome to another episode of Reminiscences. Our guest today is Professor Aminu Dorayi from Kano, who is a science teacher, a professor of chemistry for many years in Ahmadu Bello University, and who has been also a public servant both in Kano and in several national assignments, including in the National Institute for Strategic Studies in Kuru, Jos. In his private life, as you will hear, he has also led a life of a great adventure. Prof, welcome to the program. And let me start by asking you about your early life in Kano.
Well, thank you very much for the honor. According to Gregorian calendar, I was born on the 16th of November 1942. So I'll be 81 in a couple of days' time, today being 14. However, my community was calculating on lunar calendar. And as some people may know, that the difference between lunar calendar and Gregorian calendar or British calendar is about 12 days a year. So after 30 years or so, you gain or lose 1 year. So that's why they claim that I'm 84.
They claim, or you don't accept the claim?
Well, I mean, it's according to way of estimating. I'm a mathematician and physicist, you know. So really, I go from a rigid, you know, it's a very fluid, So anyway, I'm dated as 84-year-old person by my community in Kano, Dorayi, Yakase, but in Gregorian, in 2 days' time, I'll be 81. So I started, as everybody did at that time, primary education in Shahuchi Primary School. And incidentally, the name Aminu Dorayi was given to me at the school because they asked me when I was taken for interviews for admission. This was probably around 1950. 50. They asked me, what's your name? I told them I'm Aminu. My name is Aminu. They said, from where are you? I said, I come from house number 7 in Dorayi quarters. Then they wrote my name down as Aminu Dorayi. And this name has stuck around for, for nearly 80 years, So after the primary, at that time, there were only 4 senior primary schools in the whole of Kano and Jigawa. I went to one of them. It was from there that people are selected to go to Bario College, Kaduna College, provincial secondary schools, and some to teachers' colleges.
I read somewhere in your book about this incident where even though you are one of the top 3 students in your junior primary, yet when it came to the time to go to the senior primary, somehow you are denied because your parents didn't pay a gift. I was surprised because it shows that even in the 1950s, these problems of, corruption, there's no other way to call it, it was still there in our system.
You see, what happened at that time, if I may recall, was that my father and his 3 wives, including my mother, went to the Hajj of 1954, which was around July, August. So during their absence, one of the teachers in the primary school asked for a gift.
Gift?
Yeah. For the admission.
So is this normal, some kind of traditional gift?
Well, I don't know. Well, because from what I understood, many people's parents gave
it to you.
Some gave buhungero, buhundawa, some even like a cow if they,
It's a big gift.
Yeah. But for me, both my father and mother were in Saudi Arabia, attending to the Hajj. And also perhaps for my father to sponsor 3 wives to Saudi Arabia in 1950, you know, he was assumed to be very wealthy.
So there's expectation.
Yeah, the expectation. You know. But I thought that I was in the top 3 every time. So I had no problem. I said, my parents are away. You know. They said, do you have anybody that can do it? I said, no. But suddenly I found myself not being admitted. So by that time, my parents, my father died in Saudi Arabia. My mother came back.
That same Hajj.
The same Hajj.
1954.
So, yeah, but my grandmother was still around. So I went and told her, crying.
So she was the one who rescued you.
Oh, yes.
Ensured the gift was given for you to go to senior primary school.
That's right. So really, you know, there's a bit of informality because it was never specified, it was never described, and so on. But it would be good if you give it, you know, because I know some people who were even 1 year below me, who were not the best in those years. They were admitted.
Yeah. So eventually, the gift was paid on your behalf by your grandmother.
Yes.
And you went to the senior primary.
That's right.
Yes.
But you know, it isn't a big deal. Yes, it looked like a corrupt practice.
Like a what?
Corrupt practice. To require something be given before you do your job, before you do the right thing for the people, you know, whether they're traders or admission and so on, you know. So, but it wasn't taken seriously, and it wasn't documented. It wasn't money, you know. So I think, you know, it's a bit complex.
Okay. After the senior primary, why did you go to a technical college instead of a normal secondary school?
You see, I had always been inclined in mathematics and sciences, such that, as you saw from my book, I think in 1955, the late Muhammad Sanusi, Emir of Kano, the grandfather of Muhammad Sanusi II,
Right.
you know, he came to the graduation of the primary school, and he handed me the gift of the best student in mathematics. This was at the primary level. The Northern Nigeria government set up a secondary technical school in Kaduna, and they wanted engineers and scientists to be brought who will then in future become engineers and doctors from Northern Nigeria. They went around Northern Nigeria to get the best students. And because of my inclination in mathematics and science, I was among those picked by them and taken to secondary technical.
You almost became a professional footballer because you were good in football. One of the game teachers thought that you had a chance to be a footballer even in England professionally.
Yeah, right.
What stopped that plan?
Well, first of all, I thank God for many gifts.
Yes.
Including those that I thought I was being denied something at an earlier age. I was, no doubt, a very, very good football player. In fact, some of my friends, you know, who are professors and vice chancellors, said that since that time, that the only thing they know I knew very, very well without struggling was playing football.
Even more than chemistry.
More than chemistry, you know. I mean, so anyway, I was quite good. And to betray this point, in the independence ceremony of Nigeria, 1960, I happened to be among the Nigerian team selected by the then NFA to play against Ghana during the Independence Day celebrations. And I proudly played in front of Tafawa Balewa, Abdul Nasser, Kwame Nkrumah, and so on.
This is in Lagos?
In Lagos, yes. National well, it was before National Stadium was built up, Surulere. It was Anekon. It was a small stadium,
Yes.
King George V Stadium. at that time. So, but because of that, ability that the British games master saw in me, he got me a place in Ipswich town to go and play there. And
Ipswich, England.
Yeah, Ipswich, near London. But then another British teacher called Mr. Tanner, who taught us chemistry, he told me privately that, look, if you go to play football, maybe 5-10 years, you're finished. But if you go and study chemistry, you'll be up to 60 or more years, you will have a job. So based on that, and also really, I was very interested in chemistry. I put down the offer of going to Ipswich to play.
Another thing is you almost went to the army instead of being a chemist. I gather, except for the objection of your mother, you are really determined to go to...
I was interested, very interested. And I was in the same group as Buhari, Shehu, Eradua.
This age group?
Yeah, the same cadet group.
Which school?
Well, no, they came from different schools in northern Nigeria.
Okay.
But they were all admitted to, you may call it NDA, but NMTC at that time.
Nigerian Military College.
Training school.
Training school.
Whatever.
Actually enrolled, you started.
Yes. Well, I think what happened was that I showed interest. Then I was taken with all the Sani Abacha, the same group, the same classrooms, So it so happened that Nigeria became afraid or apprehensive that Ghana has started Air Force. And politically they say Ghana will come and conquer us. This was what was going on, around 1961, 2, So they decided suddenly to start a Nigerian Air Force.
Air Force.
So we were in the army examinations, selections, and so on, with the late Brigadier Memalari. He was the one selecting people to go into that school. Then suddenly a delegation came that the government had decided to set up Air Force, and they needed a certain category of people from among those being selected to go to the Air Force.
So instead of army, to the Air Force.
So they selected 5 or 6, 7 of us, including the first chief of air staff, Isa Doko. They selected us to go to Air Force. But actually, my mother didn't want me to join the army. But I was determined to join the army. But when I was offered a place in the Air Force, I went to tell her that I listened to her, and I'm now going to be driving airplanes.
So the Air Force is not the army?
Yes.
I mean, did you persuade her that?
No, she didn't need persuasion because she is aware of all the flights and the pilots and so on.
Yes.
And she went to Mecca.
Yes.
My father
she has flown.
there.
Yes.
Yes. So when I told her that I'm going to be flying aircraft, she was quite comfortable.
Okay.
I went there, and they brought Germans to select final selection. At that time, I wasn't wearing glasses. And when they took us around, they flew us, and they were talking about things. We didn't know it was target practice. It was later than I understood. When we came down, they said that my report, his eyesight is less than perfect.
Less than perfect?
Yes. So I was dropped. And I was told to go back to the army where already I have a place and all that. And they're waiting for me. And the others have all left, And I said, how can I approach my mother with this thing again?
Say I'm back to the army.
Yes. So instead of that, I went to HSC to study physics, chemistry, mathematics, and so on.
So you absconded from the army?
Well, I think, it's not quite But something was arranged
Mm.
that let them allow me to finish my A-levels and go and become military engineer. So my position was kept, but I would return to the army, in the engineering corps after my A-levels, and they sent me for a degree. So I'm not quite sure whether I can say I absconded. Something was arranged.
I know you never went back to the army. Instead, you went to ABU,
Yes.
read chemistry. Tell us about that period. This ABU was then very new.
Well, it was very fascinating, very interesting, and very, very privileged to be with Ahmadu Bello, even for us at that age. You see, ABU was started, I think, 63 or so, from the old Niger Call, Nigerian College of Arts, Science and Technology. So
You were the fourth set or third set?
no. Third,
Third.
or even fourth. Because what happened, they started the Niger Call, I think, 62. I mean, the ABU. The law is there. After Ashby Commission and so on, they set up. So that 1965, I was then a student in ABU first year. Ahmadu Bello came to the convocation to award the first degrees. But these were for people who had been there before
3 years
us.
earlier.
Yeah, 3 years earlier. So I recall him standing up and saying the purpose of this convocation is to award degrees, diplomas, and certificates to students who are qualified in both character and learning. And he just went and sat down. And since then, I realized that it isn't just the degree, it isn't learning, it is the character. What you will do with this degree, what you do when you finish. And it's really the enormous opportunities and responsibilities that were lying ahead for the degree graduates. Then, when I went to the university, it was during the crisis, and I was identified by my colleagues and friends as somebody who could steer the boat very clean. So I was elected president of the student union. And in fact, further to this, even when I went to the US, I was the president of the Nigerian Student Association in the University of Oregon. I was the president of the African Student Association in the West Coast of America. So I've had a little flair in
How come you are a chemist doing this politics? And how come you didn't really go into full-blown politics? Since you
Well, two things you mentioned.
youth, yes.
Number one, our professor of chemistry, who was later the DVC, Professor Matthiasen, when I was appointed, he called me. He said, "Look, my boy, it is not customary for people in science to go into student unionism. You will fail. You will not wait time to do your practicals. And if you don't do your practicals, you will not even be allowed to sit in the exam." And so on and so forth. And he even told me that I haven't got many marks to spare from my part 1 results.
Okay.
But you see, I was already appointed president of the student union. He told me to go and resign.
Appointed or elected?
Elected, sorry. He told me to go and resign. I said, no, it's beneath my dignity. That also blew his mind. When I said it's beneath my dignity. If this had happened before the elections, I could have stepped down. So I had to work out a way of making sure that I did everything over and above the required limitations. And I passed my second year exams and went into the third year. And they were amazed that I managed both.
I think also there is the advantage this presidency of student union brought you, because you are invited to the US on a visit, and that paved the way for your subsequent graduate studies.
Yes, I think one thing leads to another. As the president of the student union, 1976, 66, 67. America wanted to get into Nigeria. So they organized a program which they call youth leadership. They will take potential leaders of Africa from all over the continent and bring them to the US for like a month or so, orient them, indoctrinate them and all that and so on.
To see how developed it is.
Yes. So they came to my office at the President of the Student Union and told me that they wanted 2 or 3 people to go and join this program during the holidays with students from all over Africa. So they said they wanted me to be there and let any 2 of the executive members also be there. So that's how I got in. But because I had this wider ambition of postgraduate, I found time in between in the schools, in the states we went to, Georgia, Colorado, and Oregon, and so on. Even, at Georgia, Atlanta. I find time to visit the universities and look for admission or what are the conditions. And Oregon gave me even a teaching assistantship because they thought I could teach chemistry or mark chemistry for undergraduates, 100 level. So that student unionism enabled me to go to the US, enabled me to go to universities and find a place. I was focused along these lines, and I did everything possible to minimize my stay there. I got my master's degree in about 18, 19 months. I got my PhD 2.5 years after that. But I was working every day. Nigerian Independence Day, American Independence Day, whatever. I was always in the lab, in the library.
Yes. Yet you had chance to also have fun, because I recall this adventure you did. You bought an old car and you crossed the Nevada desert, one of the tourist attractions of the US.
Yes.
How are you able to do that?
No, normally around Christmas to New Year, you can take 2 weeks off because the undergraduate courses are all closed down, and everybody goes home. So I bought a Beetle, probably a $600 or whatever, Volkswagen Beetle, and I use it for coming to class, coming to lectures, and so on. So after servicing properly with a company called German Auto Service, and they're very proud that I could use that old car to go across the Reno, Nevada deserts, and so on.
But why did you choose the Nevada desert? I mean, I know there are...
No, to the nearest to Oregon. Yes, because you go out to Portland, you go to San Francisco, you go down to LA, you cross over to Nevada.
Yeah.
You know, so, but I mean, I enjoyed the desert, but of course, compared to Sahara Desert, it was a lot of fun. There were gas stations, there were rest points, there were cafeterias, you know, spotted along the way.
Yeah.
And there are communication where if you have any trouble, you can phone.
Now, this also, I think, ties up with my next question on your trip across the Sahara. This time, a much longer trip. Again, when you had the opportunity to be in the UK for a postgraduate course, you came back by road across the Sahara. Why? Why did you decide to do that? You are by then a lecturer in the university, a PhD holder, a family man. It looked like a big risk to take.
No, there's no doubt that it was very, very big risk. But like many things, when you do them, you don't recognize the risk. It was later, if you happen to succeed, that you realize that you have taken a lot of risk. There's no doubt that it was very risky. But while planning it and doing it, it didn't seem risky because I contacted the Automobile Association. I bought a new car. That time you buy Peugeot 504, brand new from the manufacturers at £2,000, which was about 3,000 naira at the time. You know, brand new car.
And you had a companion along?
Yeah, I had one Yahaya Nache from Kaduna State, who was also adventurous. But you see, one of the rules is that, like people in the army, the navy, and so on, no, there is only one commander. If we got a vessel, there is one commander, one captain. He takes full responsibility.
What was the most interesting thing you saw on that journey from England across France, Spain, Morocco, Niger, coming down to Kano?
Yes, I think, there are three isolated things that fascinated me. Probably not in sequence. One thing was that when we arrived at one village, one town, it started to rain. It was raining. And the children of 9, 10, 11, 12 years were crying.
This was in the desert?
Yes, and running home.
Yes.
Because they don't know anything like rain. They thought that the end of the world has come.
Because of the rain?
Because it's something they have.
It hasn't rained there?
It hasn't rained for 14 years. So...
Which place was this? Is it in Morocco? Or?
No, it's in Algeria, southern Algeria. After Insala also, So it was the elders that had to counsel them and tell them that this is not natural, it doesn't happen for a long time, but just keep calm, relax, and so on. So that was a wonderful circumstance. Another one was, there was a desert market with camels that the market meets something like every 6 months. Because it takes a month to go home, it takes a month to come back.
Wow.
So by the time they go home, they pack everything, they sell what they brought, they select what they will take. It's another 6 months. And it happens that, and the market goes for 1 month. It happened that when we passed that place, it was the market month. And I had never seen 1,000 camels together. And the way the people were greeting each other and embracing each other and so on, it was very
Did you stay long there in that
No, just
market?
a few hours.
You just passed?
Yes, just a few hours. So it was very fascinating. Another thing that I saw which fascinated me was that we stopped to do something, I can't remember what. And then I saw something like, it's not quite a snake, it's kulba, I don't know what is it in English, kulba.
Yeah, it's like a lizard.
Yeah.
Some kind of lizard.
Because throughout the journey, that we haven't seen any life whatsoever.
In the desert?
Yes, no plants, no trees, no animals, no people. So when I saw that lizard or whatever, I said to myself, in fact, I said to it, how did you get here?
How did it survive that kind of condition?
Yes. And it went back into the sun and disappeared. I still remember that.
Another great adventure of yours, because we're talking of somebody who has written a book called The Chronicle of an Adventurous Chemist.
That's right.
Which also I find fascinating, is going around the world in an aircraft.
Yes.
In a Pan Am, I believe, flight,
Yes.
which took you around the world. This time with your wife. How was that? I mean, it must be very expensive.
You see, it wasn't expensive. You see, when we were in school, right from primary going up, these Marco Polo adventurers, Mungo Park, and Ibn Khaldun,
Ibn Battuta,
we were reading about them. And really, they fascinated me. And I thought they were really special people. So
you wanted to go around the world?
Yeah, and also, when you are doing geography, history, that kind of, at that early level, even the concept of the world being round was debated extensively at that period or before that period. So I said, in a way, by going in one direction continuously and finding yourself back at your starting point, it was very convincing. that the world is round, as it were. It's a globe. So I checked out airlines and so on. At that time, they were offering very, very reasonable fares with about maybe 10 stops and so on. So for you to go around the world.
So it's a deliberate flight created to take people around the world,
Yes.
those who wanted.
Yes.
The same, it's different flights, right? You drop, you stay, and then continue.
Yeah, for example, our first stop was London, Delhi.
Delhi.
We went in there. Then we went Hong Kong, Tokyo, Korea,
Seoul.
Seoul,
Yes.
and then across this, to Hawaii. And from Hawaii, you cross over to San Francisco.
San Francisco.
San Francisco, you go to Chicago.
Chicago.
But you are free to spend any number of days.
So how long did you spend altogether doing this?
Probably 23 days, but probably in the book it's more accurate. I can't remember.
Okay.
So.
And what do you remember the most fascinating about that journey? Which stop did you like there?
No, it's not so much the story, but look, the overall fascination is seeing different creatures, different people. The Indians are different from the Hong Kongers. They're different from Japan. They're different from Korea. By the time you go to Hawaii, so one of the things that I was established in my mind is the difference between people. We were all basically human. But look, we were also different. So that thing established itself in my mind, and also actually gave me satisfaction that we are all human.
Is the urge for adventure now gone from you? Are you still tempted to venture out?
No, adventure, as you know, is a very physical activity. And at this age, when you decline, your physical ability declines, it's not easy to try to do that. Number one, I've seen enough of it.
You've seen enough?
Yeah. Number two, I'm weak. So what I could do, like when you go to airport, let's say Dubai or wherever, there are long places to walk to, and I was fast to get to the queue for the immigration, and it was very fit, and just quickly go. But I can't do that now. So the incentive of doing that, you can't manage it. And also, like I said, when you have done it, you have done enough.
Yes.
So I still think about adventures, but I know that my physical body cannot take it.
So you don't travel anymore? No more travel?
No, I used to travel, my wife and I, to Dubai, Abu Dhabi, to our children.
Okay. You have children there?
Yes. Every once in a while. We used to go to Cairo for medical treatment every 6 months.
You still do that?
We still do that.
Yes.
For example, inshallah, to end of January, early February, we go and stay. And we now stay longer because before, even when I was working with NIPS, with ISS and so on, we could go for like 5 days, 1 week. But now I can go to stay for 1 month, and so on. So really, things have changed a bit, and you have to accept the changes.
Now, your career in ABU, of course, well known. You are teaching for many years, and then every once in a while you go out. You left in the 70s to be a commissioner in Kano, for example, of several ministries: trade, education, finance. How was the experience away from the academia in government, for example?
It was quite straightforward that you go there to do a job. Your leave of absence.
No politics.
No politics. And also, I tell them, they accept it, that if I find my stay not delivering the goods or not being hard, I will go back and teach. So under those conditions, everything went well.
Now you are a retired prof, and it seems to me you are a very comfortable retiree. Does it have any relationship with how you are brought up? Because in your book you indicated that from an early life you inherited something.
Yes.
Your father was a very wealthy man in a way, and you inherited and you started business as a young man. Did it really help to make you very adept in your finances, and so as a retiree now you are not really in any distress?
I can tell you that with gratitude to God, Alhamdulillah, I am not in any distress at all. In fact, I'm extremely comfortable. And I know that I am much, much more comfortable than I was ever before in my life. I will not go into the why and so on. But look, there is no doubt that this is if you like, the best moment of my life.
Even in your 80s?
Yes. I mean, everything is okay. And a number of factors contributed to this. Number one, you had to make sacrifice at an early age to save for the future, to plan for the future.
Which you did.
Yeah. I suppose, as you said, I became a landlord before the age of 10, collecting rent of 10 shillings a month from the tenants, and some with small room, 5 shillings. I'll go there and write and record. 10 shillings a month per room. And the bigger room and parlor is 10 and 6, So I've learned to receive income and to manage it for repairs, for this, for other issues and so on. Also, my grandmother was a trader in textiles, and she used to assemble goods for the trans-Saharan people who used to come by camel and give them her wares, and they bring something for her and others to sell in the local market until they come back again in 3 to 6 months' time, So really, I have learned to do things properly.
So the kind of trading is in you?
Yes.
You grew up with that?
Yeah. So said that, for example, not surprisingly, when I went to the government college, I was in Form 1, and I got hold of a newspaper or magazine that we used to be called West African Drum. And one place I saw, he said, the caption was, "Even a monkey can make money." I said, if a monkey can make money, me too, I can make money. So it provided me with an incentive to make money, because they are talking about even a monkey can make money. And I said that I am more intelligent than monkeys, so I can make money. And so in secondary school, I was in Form 1, Form 2. I will import goods by mail order stores from Lenners, from Oxendales, from Bata and all that. I bring them, sweaters, shoes, hats, coats, and so on. So I will bring them. My pocket money from home was 1 shilling a day, despite the fact that I was in boarding school and I was fed and so on. So 30 shillings a month, I will collect them and keep. When I order goods on cash on delivery, when they are brought to Kaduna from London, from Oxendales, I'll go and give them their money and collect the goods. And I'll wear and look very good. So some of the children who say, "I know, please, I also want you to get for me," So I was importing goods and selling to students.
Yeah.
Even in secondary 1, secondary 2.
So you're not just a professor theorizing, you grew up as a businessman, and you continue managing wealth. But there's one aspect that I also want to touch, politics. In your book, you mention how you are influenced by Aminu Kano, the radical politics, how some of your colleagues, even from secondary school, included radicals like Yusuf Bala Usman, who you were together with the ABU. But it's noticeable, you yourself really didn't go into radical politics. You stayed fairly within the conservative confines, if I may say so.
Well, you see, Bala Usman and I were in secondary school Form 1 together up to the end. So it didn't start from the university. And I was their head. I was bringing in communist literature from Poland, from
This was in
Serbia,
Kaduna,
Russia.
right?
Yes. I was bringing them, and we were reading and discussing and so on. So I became, and also from Mana Aminikan's experience, I became left-wing inclined. In also a way anti-establishment, which I said in my book. So, but in terms of actually going into the field, I didn't. In fact, some of my colleagues, including those still alive, one Professor Alemika, who retired from University of Jos recently, used to tell me, that I have defected.
You have defected from the radical politics.
Yes. And even Bala Usman, the group, said that I have acquired Obasanjo mentality. When I was in government, I acquired Obasanjo mentality, whatever that meant.
So you parted ways, really. You are not really with the radical
I think,
tradition.
in practice, I wasn't participating. But in terms of the ideas, the pure ideas, yes. And also when we discuss, I can point out some of the things that they didn't know or they were not applying, or because I wasn't dogmatic. So I didn't go into politics through the grace of God, partly because when I was commissioner in Kano State Government, I put so much effort that I almost lost touch with my family. And I know that first and foremost, your well-being in the world, well, not first and foremost, is to bring up your family. And I saw that going into political arena, I wasn't going to get the chance to raise my children the way I want, educationally, professionally, and so on. Said that, I couldn't afford to be in politics. And also...
You couldn't give the time.
Yeah. Also, whatever it is that people get in politics, God has given me. I mean, I don't have aircraft of my own. I don't have jeeps sitting outside here, But look, I'm satisfied with what God has given me. So I don't need to go into those areas.
But you didn't have the urge to go into politics to improve things, like Mala Aminu, like Bala Usman himself, always lecturing and saying, look, this is the right thing to do.
It's true that I can blame myself for not giving back to society or taking my time to improve society. I remain at improving myself, if you like. So I accept that. But look, you can't do everything.
Yeah.
You can't do everything.
And talking about family, yes, I mean, you raised a very good family. I know all your children are graduates, some are working abroad. How proud a dad are you to have done that?
You see, I became very sure that I needed all my children to study up to university level, male or female. I also felt that as a lecturer, I was teaching other people's daughters, and my daughters cannot be denied the same thing that I was giving other people's daughters. But I also insisted that there should be science bias. But it didn't always work, I also insisted that the minimum education qualification in my house should be a master's degree.
Masters.
The absolute minimum.
Most of them have a master's.
Yeah, in fact, probably only one, who the last one.
Out of 9?
Out of 9, So, I thank God that I have managed to educate my children, both male and female, and into, very good professional standing. My first daughter, for example, is a medical doctor. She is a director of Pathfinder NGO, country director. And one of my sons is a pilot, is a captain, is a training captain with IBOM Air. He is now in Canada, converting from CRJ, a small aircraft, to Boeing. and he's a training captain already. So he's also
Training other pilots.
Yeah, even some other Europeans, when they come to their in place, they say, okay, not many people choose to be training captain because, it's a lot of work, and also it's very risky. You have to be alert. To enter the aircraft with somebody who is fresh,
That's true.
and you release command to him. You can't overlook that. You can't go out.
Yes.
You have to go there, stay. Anything you see wrong,
You take over.
you take over. So he's a training captain, and of course, the pilots of these days, they earn a lot of money, and no money that I haven't seen, while I was at work, So he's there now. This week, he will finish the Airbus conversion, and then he'll do another course or train the trainer. So he'll do another job for 2 weeks with the aircraft manufacturers. For him, he's a training captain already with a smaller aircraft. So that's that. The other one is the revenue mobilization. I think he's deputy director in accounting. He's working for PhD in accounting as a means of retiring from the civil service to join a university, as a post-retirement activity. And one is a lawyer, is a lady. She's worked with the United Nations. The job she's doing now is the kind of job they are bringing foreign white people to come and do. But through the help of Amina, Ibrahim, and so on, and she knows me as a lecturer, as education, and my daughter is also quite good. So she said this job can go to her. You don't need to bring American or whatever to do it. So he is very, very well placed in the UN. And of course the two, one is a pilot, one is a building engineer. He's a director in a very major company. And as director, they get treated like British foreign nationals. They take care of their family, they take care of their hospital, they take care of traveling abroad.
He's in Dubai?
Abu Dhabi, the headquarters. That's why the headquarters of the company is. And the other one next to him, this one did building engineering in ABU. This next to him did computer science and physics in Mina, and got a first class in computing. So he went there, software engineering. Before he finished, he got a job, worked for 6 years, got to high places, and decided to move to Canada with his wife and 2 children. And after 3 years in Canada, he qualified to be given Canadian citizenship. And his wife is Nigerian, yes. Is here. In fact, the daughter of Dr. Ibrahim Wada, the NISA doctor. So to see them all through in high places and managing very well is very pleasing. And also, part of what I implied earlier was that I no longer have to support anybody. And also, I don't need them to support me. So let them look after their families,
So what do you do now in retirement? You are retired.
Yes.
What is your day-to-day life like? I know you have only one wife.
Yeah.
And you sometimes joke that if it's possible to have half a wife, you will be happy.
Yes. No, I think it's, people who try to manage many wives don't know that by having less, they may be better off. But of course, I have to be careful that if the religion said that you can, I'm not saying that it's wrong to do it. But me, I'm not interested. And I hope God will forgive me for having only one wife. Yeah. So really, normally I go to bed 8 o'clock in the evening.
Wow.
At most.
That's early.
Very early. But I wake up 4:30 every day. Through every day of the year. So after my prayer and things like that, I have a computer and I'm on the internet. Sometimes 2-3 hours.
Do you do physical activities? Because sitting is supposed not to be good for the elderly.
Yes, I think, a little bit of going up and down, a little bit of going to restroom. At least I exercise, mobilize. And even today, for example, yesterday and today, I went to Nisa.
The hospital.
The Nisa hospital, because I had trouble with my foot. So they asked for X-ray yesterday. And they asked for my fasting blood sugar this morning. Yesterday when I went, I already had breakfast. So today I went there at 7:30, without breakfast. They took the sample. Okay. Tomorrow it will come out, and I will see the doctor. So a few movements here and there, But really, even though I've been vigorous in exercising, when I was in NIPS, every morning I'll go around, I'll move around, sometimes with the participants and so on, But I'm no longer really active, but I'm very, very healthy for my age and so on. And even yesterday, day before yesterday, doctors were telling me that I don't need any additional medication, I'm all right. So I thank God for the health and for the opportunity He gave me to look after myself and my family. Yeah. So I can afford to go to Cairo and see consultants. When I was diagnosed with prostate cancer about 18 years ago, it was through just a normal medical checkup. When they saw what they call prostate-specific antigen, PSA, high,
yes,
they ordered more tests.
Yes.
And they found that the prostate cancer has begun to develop. So they did some radiation once a day for 1 month, 5 minutes at a time. And since then, they say 16 years, it won't come back. So after 16 years, I used to go back every year. Yeah. So they saw that the PSA is beginning to rise. So they resumed some treatment, whether it's tablet or injection every quarter and so on. So all the resources for this, God has provided for me. And I don't need to beg anybody or to, get anybody to pay for me. And it is not drastic. It isn't like we have got a heart surgery that will require millions and millions of naira or dollars. So God has given me good enough health to contend with minor ailments. But you have to be careful, eat correctly, rest correctly, and rest your mind. Yeah. And make sure that what doesn't concern you does not concern you. If my mind has a way of shutting on certain things, people may even come, or family may come, will call, say, telling me about some problem. But my mind is already, I'm listening to them, but really it's not going beyond my ears. Because I don't want to get involved. Already, I'm doing well, I'm happy, I'm healthy. I don't want them to drag me into any politics.
Thank you, Prof.
Yeah, when we were young, we used to say, when people come with these kind of things, say, don't drag my name into the mud. Yeah.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Professor Aminu Dorayi. And we wish you long life and more contribution to the country as you are doing. And viewers, thank you for joining us in this episode of Reminiscences with the adventurous chemist, Professor Aminu Dorayi. And until we meet in another episode of the program, thank you and goodbye.